29. By this stage you should have got down the notes that you've had a chance to copy, and so now you should be listening, looking at your notes, making any extra comments or notations against what you've already written. Okay, so today we're talking about expanding algebraic expressions, which is basically we're talking about brackets. Okay, so you can put, we're going to be expanding brackets. So this is an important skill in algebra, to know how to do this, to make sure that you can expand brackets to help you simplify expressions. Okay, so firstly, brackets are used as grouping symbols to help write expressions in a clearer way. Okay, so it helps us to break it into different parts and to write it in a nice clear way at times. Sometimes you want to get rid of brackets, other times you're trying to get brackets in an expression to help you understand what's happening. Okay, so what we do when we're expanding brackets is you multiply the factor or the term outside the brackets with each of the terms inside. Okay, that's an important point. So you're multiplying with each term inside. Not just one, or not just with the first one, or not just with the second one, but you have to multiply it with each of the terms inside the brackets. So we're going to have a look at a few examples and see how we go with them. First one here, we have 4 bracket x plus 1. So if I just change color, what we need to try to do is, this is our goal. We're saying the 4 is outside of the brackets. Then you got this x, and you have this 1. Now remember that whenever we take the sign of something, we have to take the sign before it with that term. So this is positive 1. So what we do when we expand these brackets, this is saying that the 4 outside the brackets is multiplied with the x and with the 1. So you multiply the 4 with the x, and you multiply the 4 with the 1. Okay, now if it helps you to do that, I would actually recommend you draw these arrows to make sure that you get each of those terms and can follow it through. So what we have is, well, 4 times x, we can actually write that, 4 times x, and then we have plus 4 times 1. Now what we end up with is, well, 4 times x we can just write as 4x, and then 4 times 1 is 4. So our answer to this, when you expand 4 bracket x plus 1, it becomes 4x plus 4. Right, being careful to multiply both terms inside the brackets with what's on the outside. Same again here, 2 bracket x plus 2. We've got the 2 on the outside, then you have the x, and we have the 2. So again, if we have a look, we got 2, so you multiply the 2 with the x, and then you multiply the 2 with the 2. So what we end up with is 2 times x plus 2 times 2. Okay, and of course if you simplify that, we get 2 times x is 2x, plus 2 times 2, that's 4. And so it's 2x plus 4 is the correct expansion of this expression. Let's change color again. Right, if we go down a little bit, have a look here, we've got 5, 1 minus 2x. Now remember, this negative sign, it actually goes with this term here. It's minus 2x. So we can think of it as individual terms. So firstly we've got the 5, and the 1 and the minus 2x. So we have to multiply both. Multiply the 5 with the 1, and then multiply the 5 with the minus 2x. Now if we do this, what we're going to end up with is 5 times 1, that's the first set. Then because it's a negative, we have a positive 5 multiplied by negative 2x. Alright, positive times a negative. And so that's going to be minus 5 times 2x. So that's going to be a negative, and so we end up with 5 minus 10x. Whatever happens, you realize that the second term has to be a negative. Positive 5 times a minus 2x. That's going to be 5 minus 10x is our solution to that, or our correct expansion. Okay? Now if we have a look at number 4, we've got minus 4 on the outside. We have a negative on the outside. Then we have 3x, and then we have minus 3. So if I put a circle around it, that's minus 3. Remember, this negative sign goes with the 4, so it's minus 4. So I draw in my arrows, and you've got minus 4 times 3x, and then minus 4 times minus 3. Now when we make this, we'll have minus 4 times 3x minus 4 times minus 3. Now if we look carefully, minus 4, order of operations, remember, you've got to do the multiplications first. Minus 4 times minus 3, well that's minus 12x. Minus 4 times minus 3, well, that's a negative times a negative. So that's going to be positive 12. And so we get plus 12. And so what we end up with is minus 12x plus 12. Now when you have an algebraic expression like this with two terms, you can just switch the order around as long as you keep the sign the same. So we can write this as 4 12 minus 12x. Either one is fine. The order is not important in this case. It's just that you're able to see that it's a negative 12x minus 12x term and a positive 12 term. Okay, let's have a look at the next one as well. You've got 5x multiplied by 4 minus x inside the brackets. So this is on the outside, so we're going to multiply these. 5x with the 4. We have to multiply the 5x with the minus x. Alright? And so if I come down here, I'm going to insert some space. Alright, ignore that number, that should be number 5. Okay? So if we multiply the 5x with the 4, we end up with 5x times the 4 plus 5x times minus x, so negative x. Well, 5x times 4, that's 20x. 20 lots of x. Now we have a positive 5x plus 5x multiplied by a negative. Alright? Plus 5x multiplied by a negative. So that's going to be minus 5x squared. Because when you have x times x, it raises the power to x squared. And so we have 20x minus 5x squared. Now these last two, what we're going to do is do a few steps. So we're going to first expand it and then simplify. Okay, so we're going to expand the brackets out and then simplify them. Simplify the expression by collecting like terms. And so what we have here, we've got to do it carefully. It's 6 times 2x, 6 times minus 3. Then we have minus 4 times x, and then minus 4 times positive 3. Remembering that, the term, you just think of it as the sign going with the term here. Alright? So, if we have a look at that, so this equal sign, we'll just go here. So what we have is 6 times 2x. So 6 times 2x, that's 12x. Then we have 6 times minus 3. It's a positive times a negative, so it's going to be a negative answer, and 6 times 3 is 18, so it must be minus 18. Now the next one we have is minus 4 times x. Minus 4 times x. Okay, so it's going to be minus 4x, and then the final term is negative 4 minus 4 times positive 3. negative times a positive. And so that's going to be negative, and it's actually negative 12. Alright? So now if we collect the like terms, what we have is, I can rearrange the order. I'll say it's 12x, then the next x is minus 4x, minus 18, minus 12. So if we look at the x terms, you've got 12 lots of x, and you're minusing, taking away 4 lots of x. So that's going to be 8 lots of x, 8x. Now for this section, for the numerals, we look and we think, okay, you've got minus 18. You're starting at minus 18. Imagine a number line. You start at minus 18, and then you're moving down the number line 12 spots. Okay? So you're moving downwards 12 spots. And so what we end up with is minus 30. So our final solution is 8x minus 30. And the very last example that we're going to do is this next one. 6x bracket 2x plus 2 end bracket plus x bracket 4 minus 5x end bracket. So drawing the arrows, I'll do it in a different color. So we draw in the arrows to help us. So it's that with that. Remembering we are to multiply with everything inside the bracket. That and that. So 6x times 2x, 6x times 2. And then we have to do x times 4 and x times minus 5. Again, remembering that the term goes with the sign. The sign goes with the term before it. Right. So we've got these things. And so we're going to end up with something good. We're going to be able to expand it nicely. So if we do equals 6x times 2x. Well, 6 times 2 is 12. X times x is x squared. So we have 12x squared. 6x times 2 is positive, so it's going to be plus. 6 times 2 is 12, so it's 12x. Now we have the next set, we have x times 4, so that's just 4x, and that's plus 4x. And then we have positive x plus x, positive x, times negative 5x. So it's a positive times a negative, so the sign's going to be negative. And then x times x is x squared, so it's going to be minus 5x squared. Now we want to try to simplify this. That's our goal. And so we have 12x squared. The like term with 12x squared is 5x squared. So 12x squared minus 5x squared. That's 7x squared. Then we have 12x plus 4x. And so that's plus 16x. Plus 16x. And so that's what we have. We've simplified this, we've expanded it and simplified, and that's what we end up with. But this is our solution of 7x squared plus 16x. So as we look at these examples, we need to notice a few things. You have to be careful to make sure whatever's outside the bracket, multiplied with the bracket, you have to multiply with each term inside. You've got to take care of the sign, making sure you know that if it's a positive times a positive, the answer's got to be positive. Negative times a negative is positive. When the signs are different, positive times a negative, it's going to be a negative answer. Okay, and then make sure that the last step is, if you can, to collect like terms and then simplify the expression. Okay, the exercise that you need to do is at the bottom, and make sure you take note of any questions that you need to ask me. Okay, thanks guys.